Hi everyone, and welcome to TUDev Deploy Yourself workshop. Today, we're going to walk you through on how easy it is to deploy an HTML website for yourself using Netlify. By the end of this demo, you're going to have your own live portfolio website hosted on the internet. Before we get started, a couple of things. We want to make sure that before you watch this video, to head over to our GitHub. From here, we want to make sure that you follow through with some of the prerequisites here, including installing node.js and npm. They're going to be crucial in which to use this template. The instructions are here depending on what kind of environment you're using, whether you're using Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. So that way you have everything that you need. And of course, to verify the installation. Also to make sure that you have a GitHub account and an account with Netlify. So first things first, we'll get started by cloning or basically forking the repository. So that way you actually can use it. So as we navigate to github.com/tudev, website HTML workshop, we navigate all the way to the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to fork it right over here. By doing this, it gives you a copy of the exact same template for you to use with all your permissions. So we're going to do that. So the cool part too is you can change it to whatever name you want here. It doesn't really matter here, so I'm going to leave it the same. And of course, to copy the main branch only. We don't want to copy anything else if we make additions to this down the line. So create your fork. So while this is going up, get some time to open up your VS Code, because having some file organization is crucial to understanding all of this. Now, once we have this set up here, after forking, we're going to have to clone this to your local machine so you can make some edits. So what I'm going to do is we're going to navigate over to here, over to HTTPS, and we're just going to copy this because we are going to need this in a moment. Now, I'm going to open up VS Code, and I've already taken the liberty of just creating a code folder in general. I recommend putting this under your user's information, and then right from there, just make a folder for yourself called code, so that way you can put any of your cloned repositories and such there for future organization. Doesn't have to apply to this workshop. So what we're going to do is by holding Control backtick, and backtick is the key that's next to the one on your keyboard, we're going to open the terminal. Now the cool part is that with Windows, it will open up PowerShell, which is still a really robust terminal system, or shell per se. However, if you need to, you could always just click this little button here and just open Git Bash. Git Bash is really nice is because if you're familiar with Mac OS, Linux, or anything that's a Unix-based operating system, it translates it to Windows. So that way it's only one type of shell language you have to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in git clone. And remember that HTML site, link that we got from GitHub? Well, we're going to paste that right into the terminal here. Cool. So once I do that, I'm going to hit enter. All right, awesome. So now what we want to do is we want to navigate, and we can do this through the terminal or just by clicking what's there, but we want to make sure we're in the root directory of our project. So by typing in CD and then typing out the website HTML workshop, or just type a little bit of it and press the tab button. Hit enter, we're now there. And if we set up VS Code correctly, we could just type in code, period, and now it's going to open VS Code in that folder. It will open up another folder, so you're going to want to close the other one. I'm going to do that right now. Now, when you close it, your terminal is going to change, meaning it's going to be a closed terminal, so you will have to reopen the terminal here to do the next part. So again, holding or pressing Control Tab, or not Control Tab, Control backtick. And then, of course, we want to choose Git Bash. You can still use PowerShell for some things, but not everything here. But once we do that, we're going to allow this to open. And since we're in the root, we need to install some things. That's where Node comes into play. So I'm going to type in npm install. So what this does is we have a lot of files that are part of this file here that we need to install so that way this system can run. So by calling this command, it looks at this file, this list of different instructions as well as different packages and installs it to the program. So once we do that, we're going to hit enter and we're going to let it do its thing. I think I'm going to skip ahead. So in a moment when we get back, we should have had our npm install all of our dependencies. So npm just completed installing. So you may get some error messages of some things being depreciated, or you may have some vulnerabilities, but it's nothing to worry about as we're not going to have to focus on that too much. So the next part is we need to set up our way to develop this site. So the cool part is that there is a command in there that runs a local instance of your website, so that way you can make edits. So all you have to do is go into your terminal and just type in npm start. What this does is just creates a light server setup of your website, so that way you can make edits. Unfortunately, it seems like it's taking a little bit of time being a virtual machine. Something I got to work on for the future videos. Nice. And now here we are. It has a full template and everything here. And yes, we are going to allow node.js. This might come up on Windows machines. Just make sure to allow this. So now the cool part is I'm going to drag this over here. Cool. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's so ungodly slow. So I apologize, everyone. Okay, and I'll pull and drag this guy over to here. Awesome. So the nice part about this is that now you have a side-by-side way to develop your website, and it's real-time updates. So for example, let's just say I need to change, it looks like template is for my work information. So we want to change that. So what I can do is I can navigate over to resumedata.json, which is the file where all of your important information lives. And we're going to make some changes. So by going over to the role and just changing this over to something, and let me just put this guy off to the side for now. And I'm going to change this into web developer. And I can't spell. There we go. And once I hit save, I do have to refresh the page for this, but once I do that, the information here just updated. So the nice thing is that this JSON file is set up so that way if you have additional information you want to add or change, you can do so. Everything that is in here is part of either an object or an array. And as long as you keep the same templates, for example, I'm really good at React.js, but I also like to talk a lot. So what if I put in, copy and paste this, and I'm just going to type in professional talker. And I'll leave that at 70% as well. And I save that file. If I refresh here, and I navigate down, as you can see on my skill set, my professional talker has just been updated. So as long as you copy and paste the same template into place for anything that's in these square brackets, you can add and take away as much as you want to, which is nice. So I'm going to revert that back. Now another thing is, say if you want to update any of the designs, and again, in future workshops we hopefully will be able to cover more about it. But that's what this folder's here for. And what you would want to change is you want to change the style.scss. This is Sass. So Sass is actually a predecessor to CSS. And the nice thing about using Sass in comparison to CSS is that it has the ability to save things like variables. So what I did was I saved it to our normal temple red, but you can change this color to whatever color you want. And if I save it, you don't have to refresh the page, but it updates the theming. But I'm going to change that back just for the time being. Excellent. We'll cover a little bit more when it comes down to CSS and Sass down the line, but just know that this is where all of your design stuff works. So now we have it updated. Say, for example, right now is we have all the current information that we need for this site to be up and ready. Great. Or maybe we've made some updates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an update to the resume.json file, right? Web developer, we've made that update. So now we need to push this to our GitHub, which is located right over here. We need to send that update to here. So what we're going to do, in order to cancel the build or the start command, all you have to do is click in your terminal and use Control-C, and it cancels the actual web server. And we're going to make some changes. So first off, we need to do git add period. And what this does is it adds everything any changes that has happened in this folder. It's going to add to our version control repository, and that's the local version here. So it stages it and gets it ready to go. Now we have to do something to say when we commit this, we want to give it a message to tell people what we've done with this repo. So to do that is git commit. And again, this is just committing a change, kind of like saving a file. But we have to give some description. Updated role in resume data.json. Interesting. Looks like we have a couple of errors coming up, which we have to config our global username and email. So we're going to do that real quick. So git config global user.name. Now this is going to be your GitHub name. So mine is Davey Loader. Sweet. And now we have to do git config global user.email. Now this is going to be the email that you've used with your GitHub repository. So put in quotations, davidloader92@gmail.com. Cool. So once we do that, we're going to do the same thing of making that commit. And the cool part is that with using this terminal, just by hitting the up arrow key, we'll go back to previously committed commands that you've used previously. So by doing that, it saves us some time. So I'm going to do git commit m updated role in resume data. Cool. Now the last thing is we're going to do git that push or git push. And the reason why we want to do that is we're pushing this to our remote repository. We want to push these updates to a remote location that we can use to help later deploy our site. So by doing so, our changes should be pushed to GitHub. Now, just because I'm running this on a virtual machine, this might take some time. So we may have to cut this and move on once it's been pushed. Oh, it looks like actually it's going to ask us to sign in to GitHub. So we're going to just sign in with our browser. This is only going to be a one-time thing if you haven't set up your GitHub to your VS Code. And if you're already logged in, it's just going to authenticate, which means we're good to go. Excellent. So it looks like it pushed. And how you check that is just by going over to your repository and just refreshing the page. And the cool part is that the commit that we have just done will be the first thing up here. And it looks like right here, updated 1 minute ago, resume.json. Cool. So now we have a way that if we make edits that we can push this to the internet or push this to our repo. So now comes the fun part, deploying this to our website. So I want to show you one thing that's still with your local development. We're not going to push anything to get with it, but I want to show you what it does when it gets to Netlify. Now Netlify is basically a service that gives you the ability to host static and if not, node kind of websites for free, up to a certain point. There are some limitations, kind of like how AWS has its free tier. So what we will do is there's another command that we've created here using Node Package Manager or NPM. It's called npm build. So what it does is that we have a set of commands listed in our package.json that optimizes your website to be compact and efficient as possible, or optimized for the web. So by doing so, we're going to do that. And it's going to copy and build all of our data. Oh, it looks like I made a typo. npm run build. So when we run this build, it's going to copy everything over, including our CSS information, images, anything when it comes down to our portfolio. And it's going to create a new folder called dist. This is called distribution for short. You can call this when we get into more of like editing our package.json file or adding new packages to it and creating our actual scripts, we can talk more about how we would want to build this. But for now, just know that all of your build information is going to be here in the dist folder. But by doing this is what we do is we create an optimized version of your website. And again, the reason why we wanted to optimize, so that way it's easy, it runs fast, and your clients or people who are visiting your website take less time trying to load the thing than having to sit there. And again, it's all the same information. And if I click to index, you notice that the HTML site is all one line. It's not sorted like how we visually look at things. So we want to make sure that we run this. But again, for this situation, this was just to show an example of what it does locally. So I'm just going to run npm run clean, and what that does is it just deletes the folder for you. So now we know what it does when it gets hosted. But now how do we host this on Netlify? So what we're going to do is we're going to log into Netlify locating here. And I've already gone ahead and logged into Netlify. By using your GitHub as a login makes it a lot easier for it to kind of link things together with GitHub. So what I want to do is I want to go to add a new site. And I'm going to import an existing project because we're going to use GitHub as our way of continuously improving our website. So I'm going to click GitHub. And it looks like I've already been priorly authorized. And I'm going to go look for my repo, the one that we just forked from the template. If only I can spell. Oh no, it looks like it's just it's taking its time trying to load, but it's okay. We'll keep taking our time with this. There we go. Should have put more RAM to this VM. I didn't think it needed so much. I think I'm gonna just scroll for it. So, looks like it's right here. So I'm gonna click this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it, now this is important, this part is a little important because it affixes to the beginning of the web address that it gives this website. So I'm just going to call it my resume, if I can spell again, and I'm going to just put 92, and that's my birth year, why not? And then check availability, the site's available, and now we're going to scroll down to here and make a couple of things. So the base directory is going to be /. That just means the root of the folder. The build command is what's next. And what we're going to do is we have to type in something a little differently than what it's giving us here. And that is CI equals, quote, npm run build. Yep, and then we're going to publish the directory dist. So that way it uses the optimized version. And once we do that, we're just going to hit deploy down here. Now the cool part is that it'll give you updates of how it's building and what happened. So we're going to keep an eye on it for now and just see what's going on. So the cool part, it'll give you a deploy log of everything that's happening. And I kind of, usually for first installs, I like to keep an eye on it just to make sure I haven't made any mistakes. Your mistakes will probably show up more when it gets to the building phase or the deploying. So this will take, oh, it looks like it did fail. So let's find out what's going on. Oh, looks like we put an unexpected comma in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the deploy settings. We're going to go to our build and deploy, and we're just going to check the settings again, just to make sure. Yep, looks like it's right there. So I'm going to click configure, and we're just going to fix that right up. Awesome. So try that again. And since we've already tried to make a build, we're going to go back to our main site. And what we're going to do is we're going to click here. Oh, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Sometimes when it shrinks up like this, it's a little harder to navigate. So I'm going to open that up. And we're going to click retry. And we're going to see what happens. Okay, looks like it did better that time, but let's see what happens when it builds. Oh, looks like it failed one more time. Let's see what's going on. The build command failed. So let's see here. I'm going to take a look at something. I have another site that's deployed the same way. When we get back, we're going to see if we can't fix this the right way. Alright, it looks like we found the culprit. So by going to Site Configuration, we're going to go to our Build and Deploy. We're going to navigate to Build Settings. We originally had in the build command, CI equals $npm run build. On older versions of Netlify, that was required. However, it looks like they made some updates, and now we can just run npm run build on its own. So make sure to just click configure and just change your build command to npm run build. And of course, make sure to publish the directory, which is this with the /. So we're going to save that. Another easier way to deploy a site is by navigating right over to deploys and just clicking trigger deploy and deploy site. So this is just the test to make sure that everything's up and running. So far, so good. Now let's check the building phase. Great. It looks like everything is complete and it's apparently live and rendered. So what I'm going to do is we're going to navigate over to the top to Site Overview. And the cool part is it gives us a little preview of our site, and it gives us our URL link. So I'm going to click this and see what happens. And there we are, our full website right here, hosted on this address here. It can be accessed anywhere. And you can probably check it out now. I'm leaving it up for now, just so that way if you want to check it and see. So the cool part is now it's up and running. Now, what if we want to make changes? Now we have to go through that whole thing over again? Nope. All we have to do is we make edits to here, just how we did with using Git to push updates to GitHub. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go back to resume.json, and I'm going to change from web developer to software developer. Why not? Once I make that save, now I'm going to run the 3 commands that we use to push to our GitHub, which is git add, period. Oh, it would help if I had the G in there. Git add, period. Git commit -m changed role again in resume data.json. I always like telling where I make changes. Yep, now I do git push. Now once I do this, this is the cool part. So this is going to push everything to your GitHub repository like we did before. But now Netlify is listening to that repository for the newest thing. So I bet you, if we navigate back to our browser, and I navigate over to our site over here, overview, and I refresh this page, it is building our exact update, which changed role agion, because I can't spell, in resume.json. Excellent, and it looks like it just published it, so let's go check it out. So I open up my resume, software developer has been updated. So now we have a full pipeline of how our website should be working. So the cool part is now you have this template to use for yourself. I've shown you everything as much as I could through these videos, and we're hopefully in the future are going to be working on doing more with this workshop. Mostly probably with Git, CSS, SAS, and JavaScript. So that way you can get more customization options with this template. But again, this template is free to use and it's yours to use. The CSS has been brought to you by W3 Schools. It's a very good resource to check out if you're curious more about web development. And again, using Netlify just makes it so much easier to do deployment. If you guys have any questions or anything when it comes down to the workshop, we do have a channel that is on our Discord that is designated for this workshop. So definitely take advantage of heading on over to there and asking questions of anything that you want to ask. Anyways, thank you so much for participating in our workshop, and hopefully we get to see you guys at the next one. Thank you and take care.